All right, I'm getting ready to interview Walker Donaldson. We're going to talk about that beautiful right there, Austin-Healey. So here we go. Okay, Walker, great to see you on our channel again. It's been a little while.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, I've kind of known about this car that you're standing next to, but had not until today had a ride in it. I think you, last time I saw it personally, it's been a little while, a little bit of tweaking was happening. But you've had this car for a long time, haven't you?
I have. I've had it for almost 15 years now, 12 or 13, I think, to be exact.
Okay. So, all right, and what condition, well, let's kind of go to the beginning. What kind of car is this? Tell me more other than Austin-Healey. What is this?
Yeah, so this is a 1956 Austin-Healey 104. It has been upgraded with the features that you would see in what you would call a 100M.
Okay.
To the best of our knowledge, that was done in the day, not at the factory, which a certain number of them were done in the factory, but according to the paperwork that we have on this car, it was done by an owner after he bought it. And
okay.
Those were kits available at dealers that they could then buy and install at home.
I got you. And what does the 100M, what does that denote? Yeah,
so the 100M was a sort of a tuned version of this car that Austin-Healey used, campaigned in Le Mans and other races in Europe.
Okay.
And it entailed a few upgrades. It had larger carburetors. It had cold air box instead of air cleaners. It had a louvered hood. That's kind of, and the bonnet strap. That's kind of the most the signature feature there.
Okay.
That you can use to tell because it's right there in front of you.
Right.
Some other things, different pistons, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
And those cars were fairly successul in racing in their classes at the time, but they were also sold to the public.
What kind of years were they campaigned? Do you know?
Oh boy, it's a final exam question here. Certainly around when they were new, this car was available from the beginning of Austin. It was the first model that Austin-Healey offered, I believe 53 through 56. So this would have been the last model year.
The first series kind of thing?
Exactly. They then switched to what they called a 106, which looked pretty similar but had a 6-cylinder engine instead of a 4, which is what this has. And then they continued on from there. Okay. Changing the models, but this one was the first model offered by Austin-Healey and was through 1956.
Okay, so what was the condition of this car when you got it?
This car was a project when I bought it. It was a good project, but it was largely in boxes. I bought it from a family friend who's actually been on BarryTsGarage before.
Okay.
Basically the frame and the body panels were up on a wooden dolly, and pretty much everything else was in boxes, or in the case of the engine and transmission on on another dolly, so you could kind of wheel it around because it's heavy.
Right.
But yeah, it needed to be completely assembled. All of the hard stuff had been done. There wasn't any rust to deal with, any really heavy metal work, but we did need to do all the body and paint work, the fine body and paint work. There weren't any crumpled up fenders or anything like that. It was just the finish work, basically.
Okay.
Was
the engine in running condition?
It was not. It needed to be rebuilt. Well, now that I remember it, it actually was supposed to have been rebuilt, but it needed to be gone back through. There were some valve issues, so we had it rebuilt, right. And now it's been running ever since.
Okay, so did you get on it right away as a project, or did it take some time, or did you have to look for parts, or what happened in that process?
Fortunately, it was basically complete, and the stuff that was there that maybe needed to be refreshed. There's a very active reproduction community. Moss Motors stocks virtually everything for this car. There's some things that it doesn't, but everything that all the small stuff, switches and things like that, they have all of that.
Right.
So everything was there when I bought it, and the things that needed to be upgraded, or not upgraded, but replaced, was available on as reproduction.
Oh man, that's great.
But all of the main components are original.
Oh, okay.
I bought the car. I had just graduated from college and moved home, and I bought the car with basically every cent that I had to my name, and with the rest of the money that I owed after that, I had to make payments for about
Wow.
6 months after that, after I had started working.
This is really a labor of love for you then.
It was. I had to live at home because I didn't have money for rent, because all the money that I made went into paying off this car.
Right.
This was in 2009, and so if you remember, the economy wasn't in a great shape
No.
at that time. So it was a little bit of a stretch for me to take all of my life savings and everything going forward for 6 or 8 months and put it into this car,
Yeah.
with the economy being in the shape that it was. But I kind of took the plunge, because fortunately I was able to live at home and save money on rent and do all those
Okay.
sorts of things.
Right.
That was fortunate, and here it is today.
Wow, it's beautiful. So
Mm-hmm.
when was it actually painted? Because the paint looks really good.
Yeah, as far as I know, and this is getting again into my hazy memory, but I bought the car I think in either 9 or 10, and it took me about a year to finish the restoration.
Okay.
So the paint is probably somewhere around 11 or 12 years old.
Okay.
One of the things that's one of the main things that I did on this car myself. I'm not qualified to rebuild an engine or a transmission or anything like that, but
Right.
I did most of the assembly, and the main thing that I tackled myself with my own hands was the paint job.
Wow.
And I'm it's not perfect, but no paint jobs are really,
Right.
but I'm really satisfied with how it came out.
Oh man, yeah, it looks really great. You
Yeah.
can be proud of that. You should be proud of it.
Yeah,
It
I had
looks
some really
great.
talented people helping me and giving me pointers along the way.
Uh-huh.
And so I give them a lot of credit, because otherwise I would have had no idea what to do.
Okay.
Folks at our shop and my dad, JB, as well, all experienced painters, and really helped me along.
Okay.
But I would show up to work an hour and a half early. The car was down there. I'd take a fender and
I see.
block sand it, or come in a weekend and shoot some primer. And that process continued for a few months, and
Yeah.
one day it was showtime and we painted it green, and
And it was ready.
been
it
that
was
way ever
good.
since. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now you say there's a pretty good reproduction availability for hard to find things.
Yeah, virtually everything on this car is reproduced by one person or another.
Okay.
There are some things I don't think you can get engine blocks, but
Yeah.
that shouldn't be a surprise.
Right.
But basically everything you can get, body panels, obviously all of the gauges and electrical stuff, the smaller parts you can get.
Right.
Anything I think short of maybe a frame and an engine block, you can find for these cars. So it's really a great resource.
That's really cool. So, what's it like to drive? What do you like about driving it?
It's really a blast to drive. It's, as you can see, it's a true roadster. So there's no top. Well, it has a folding top, but
Yeah.
it's convertible. There's not even any windows in it.
Okay.
You're really low to the ground, so if you reach hard enough, you can touch the ground with your hand, which I wouldn't recommend doing when you're driving. But still, it gives you a great sensation of speed. It handles really well. It's a very light car, so it doesn't have a lot of power, but at the same time, it doesn't need a lot. And since it's so low to the ground and open, it doesn't take a lot to make you feel like you're going a lot faster than you really are.
Right. That is great.
So yeah, it's really is a pleasure to drive.
Now, were the seats and interior, were they in pretty much that condition already?
Yeah, like I said, I bought it as a project, and the interior had been done.
Okay.
The seats have been done by an upholsterer here in town, and door panels, all that stuff. So I was fortunate to not have that to contend with. They're done to a really high standard.
Yeah.
And they just get better with age, honestly.
Yeah. What do you think would be some notable quirks or things that are kind of unusual about this model car that people might not know about?
Well, I don't know if it's kind of a worst kept secret. These cars have an adjustable windshield.
Oh,
That's
really?
kind of the main quirk about them. I don't know, on a car like this, a roadster, I may be wrong, but I can't think of another car that has this feature.
What does that mean, adjustable windshield?
So the windshield actually has two positions where it can be set. The one like it is right now, which is kind of the default position, and then you can loosen some thumb screws and slide it into a kind of like a forward position where it's laid back even further. And when you're driving, you're it's basically like you have no windshield at all.
Oh wow, so it's almost bumping against your chin or something?
Yeah, you need to wear goggles. If you got a hat on, you better turn it backwards.
Okay, so it kind of turns into a speedster idea.
Yeah, it really does. And supposedly it was supposed to add a few mile per hour at top speed,
Sure.
you know, in a racing setting, but who knows if that's
Well, it's
true or not.
reasonable to at least say that
Yeah,
anyway.
it may help it be a little more aerodynamic.
Sure.
So there's, yeah, you got the cold air box.
Okay.
There's
two
the
carburetors
yeah,
set up.
two carburetor, which is standard, but these are the larger M spec carburetors. There's SU H6s, which is I think the standard is an H4. So these are a little bit larger, deliver a
When
little
it
bit
says
more fuel.
S6, was that used on the 6-cylinder as well, I wonder? Or?
No, that actually refers to the size of the Venturi, if I'm not mistaken.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Cool.
H4, H6.
Yeah.
Those
All
are
right.
the two.
And obviously, got the normal radiator. Is that an old generator?
Yep, it's got a generator.
Okay.
As you can see, it's a 4-cylinder, fairly large 4, but
Yeah.
and I believe this is the basic engine that Austin, before it became Austin-Healey, Austin put these in taxi cabs. So
Okay.
for all the jokes about English car reliability, the engine and transmission and all the main components really are actually reliable
pretty
if they're
stout, huh?
if they're done properly.
Yeah. Huh. Well, it's, I mean, basically fairly simple. It doesn't look like it would be very hard to work on, really.
No, there's not a lot going on here, and it is pretty tight in there. If you do need to fix something,
Yeah.
if you need to get under it, that can be a challenge, which I've had to do a couple of times out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
But you know, even a very poor mechanic like myself can usually fix whatever's wrong with it.
Very good. Well, thanks. And let's take a quick look at the trunk while we're at it.
Sure.
Okay, we have usable space back here, actually. for
It
a
is,
little
yeah.
car.
This is what the Brits would call the boot.
Yes, the boot. You've got a full-size spare, obviously.
Yeah,
Nice.
neat little contraption there to
strap
hold it
that
into
holds
place.
it in.
Everything's held onto this car with leather straps. It's very charming.
Including the motor mounts? Not quite.
No, not it's not quite that bad, but
Right. No, that's really nice.
yeah, plenty of room back there. We tracked down an original tool kit, which is fairly rare.
Oh yeah, I see back there, and plus a hammering device to knock off the spin-off hubs.
Yep, it's got knockoffs and
Yeah.
everything you need to change them there.
Very cool. That's very nice. Well, that is really cool. Well, I think what we want to do next is maybe go for a little drive and take it for a spin and
Sure.
talk about it and let people hear it.
Let's go for a ride.
All righty, good deal.